It's Wednesday, May 8th. Wake up, 49ers fans. Awesome to have you here. Thanks for stopping on by. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Great to see you again. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Damon. What's going on, man?
You know, slow news week. It's a good thing that you and I get together to sift through what is actually important out there to talk about, because there's an awful lot that isn't important to talk about. And I was looking forward to this week, Larry. I thought this was going to be the week that we got our NFL schedules. Turns out it's going to be next week. May 15th seems to be the day that everyone is circling for NFL schedule release day. So we're going to talk about that, the pressures that Kyle Shanahan is under in a very unique football season and a unique situation that he's in. And we will make the most of a pretty slow news week. I think we got plenty to get into today.
We do. Absolutely. I mean, Sharks, Warriors off season, NBA playoffs, Giants just got drubbed in Philly and now are in Colorado. They got a nice 5-0 win behind Kyle Harrison last night. Lots of Niner stuff. Rookie mini camp starting on Friday and Saturday. So, in some ways, there's never a slow time. But there are, we're kind of blessed because we're in a sports market where we have lots and lots and lots of grist for the mill, as they say.
Indeed. And look, I'm glad that the Giants have no problems that an 8-win Colorado Rockies team can't solve for them. So that's really good. But let's jump into
small ball last night.
When you go to Coors, you want to play small. I mean, that's pretty much.
Have you ever been to Coors?
A couple of times. It's magnificent. Yeah. What a great ballpark.
Can I tell you my one experience going to Coors Field? This is classic. So we go out to Amy's sister's getting married. This is a few years ago. So we go out there and it's in May, and we decide, you know what? Let's get some tickets to the game. So I call my man Russ Stanley with the Giants, and I'm like, hey Russ, I'm not looking for freebies. I'll buy them, but can I get some tickets on the road? Well,
100% looking for freebies, but it's the right way to approach it.
Right. Yeah, I was hoping. So, but I needed like 7 or 8 tickets together because, it's a wedding party and we've got like all kinds of people. So he gets me like 9 tickets or something like that. And and it's a day game in Colorado. And I figured, we're going to be in the upper deck somewhere. It'll be, whatever, $30 a ticket. He gets me 9 tickets, all first row behind the Giants dugout on the third base side. But now I'm paying big bucks, right? I mean, it was probably almost $1,000 for all these tickets. We get to the game. We're walking in. It's a warm, kind of overcast day in May in Denver. And as I'm walking in, I'm like, damn, why did I wear jeans? I should have wore shorts. It's freaking hot out here. We're not in our seats more than, 15 minutes. And by the way, my youngest kid gets rolled a ball by, who was that pitcher the Giants had that looked so much like Pablo Sandoval? Do you remember that guy? He was a kind of a heavy set pitcher. He was a relief pitcher. Anyway, he rolled my kid a ball on the dugout.
Yasmero Petit? I mean, what?
No, not Yasmero Petit. God, I can't remember. If anybody in the chat remembers, who was the kind of round reliever the Giants had? Anyway, good guy. I forget who his name was, but he rolls my kid a ball. So now my kid's got a ball. We're sitting behind the dugout. Everything's good. And I'm sitting there and I'm sweating. I'm like, I wish I wore shorts. Damon, a half inning later, a storm front moves in, and it's like, then I'm wishing, I wish I brought my umbrella. I brought my umbrella. Now it's a downpour in Denver. They suspend the game. So in other words, they don't cancel the game and I get a refund. They suspend the game to pick it up in September when I'm back in the Bay Area. Where you think I'm going to fly 9 people out, for the last 5 innings of the game. I want to pay $1,000 for like 2 innings of a game at Coors Field.
That stinks. So my first time into Coors was a total opposite experience. The first time I ever went to Coors Field, so the first time I ever got to San Francisco was after a buddy of mine.
Gene Machi, that's who it was. Gene Machi.
There we go.
There you go.
Nice pull, chat room.
Yeah.
very first time coming west, driving to San Francisco for the very first time, all the way back in 2005. My buddy Kevin Deutsch and I had the Great American Road Trip. We left Indiana and we stopped at every major league ballpark and brewery and national park and took like a month to drive west. It was the Great American Road Trip. It was awesome. And we get to Colorado. We party in Lodo. He's got a buddy from Winter Park, Colorado, that is showing us around, knows the park well. And we get $5 rock pile tickets
up top.
The bleachers above the batter eye. Worst seat in the ballpark, but we're in and we're broke kids. So $5, we're thrilled.
Right.
It starts to rain. The entire park clears out, basically. 90 minutes later, we're still there. We had nowhere to go. So we had just been sitting and drinking in the brewery attached to Coors Field. And now it's, hey, game on. And unlike any other major league ballpark I've ever been to, the few thousand fans remaining were just told, sit wherever you want. And
that's awesome.
We went and put our feet on top of the dugout and watched the rest of that game for $5. It was one of the great sports deals of my lifetime. I've been back since, have seen all the, new elements of Coors Field that they've incorporated over the years. It's awesome. Like, that ballpark is awesome. Its location downtown, it's awesome. It's so Colorado. I love that ballpark.
It reminds you an awful lot of Pac Bell Park too, or Oracle Park. Well, as far as the brick and the way it look, it's like clearly designed by the same.
But imagine
HOK or whatever designed. Or whatever.
But imagine if San Francisco had 20 more acres to work on. Like, you could probably put 3 24 Willie Mays plazas into the footprint of Coors Field. It's so freaking big.
But it's also, it's not on the water. I mean, it's, Pac Bell or Oracle blows it away. There's no comparison. Oracle is the modern Wrigley, the modern Fenway. It's the only modern ballpark other than Camden Yards that will be talked about with real romance attached to it. Pittsburgh too. Pittsburgh really got their ballpark right. I like PNC definitely on the Allegheny. Ooh,
nice, very nice.
Anytime you're on the water, you have waterfront property is pretty nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you name all 3 rivers of the 3 rivers, Larry? You got one.
The Allegheny, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria.
Correct.
No,
I believe it's the Monongahela.
Frankincense and myrrh. No,
I think it's the Allegheny, the Monongahela,
the Monongahela.
And is it a Susquehanna River, or did we just used to both work for Susquehanna back in the day? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a river of ugliness where they take radio stations and make them terrible.
It's where ratings go to drown.
It's like Susquehanna Pfaltzgraff, I believe, was the name of the company.
Very nice.
There you go. And what's the advantage of working for them? You could order China for a relative pittance.
Isn't that nice? That nice?
There's always something good about it.
All right, here we go. 49ers news. And again, this is really not news. It is breaking news other than Ian Rappaport.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, Larry. Update.
Ninerland.
Larry and Damon.
We do a Joe Piscopo. Update. Yankees. Ball game. Victory. It was like no verbs with Joe Piscopo.
Yeah. Okay. This is our instant reaction.
Niners now. Go.
Ian Rappaport says the 49ers are moving forward with Brandon Ayuk on the roster. They've been in contract negotiations trying to get a long-term deal done. Yeah, we pretty much figured that was the way it was going after
you saw the report. You saw that report that they wanted a mid first round pick and maybe something else. And, nobody satisfied them. So they kind of moved off that. And then they were considering moving Debo. And it sounds like maybe after round 1, they talked about it. They wanted to see maybe what anybody would offer them, which was probably smart because I think everybody values Debo differently and he's unique. He's kind of a one of one. So if you really wanted to have that player, maybe you would pay a premium for it, despite the fact it didn't make sense contractually. So they waited until about 2:00 before round 2 in the afternoon, a couple hours before round 2 got underway, and they just decided they didn't have any offers they wanted and shut that down. So now it looks like they're going forward with Debo and Ayuk for the 2024 season, and overall, if you're in it to see the Niners win a Super Bowl, it's probably good news.
Yeah, I think so. Rappaport suggested that Ayuk could land a long-term deal similar to the Devontae Smith contract, who last month signed a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million. And it seems like Ayuk will remain with the 49ers for at least through at least the 2024 season. And, a few shows ago, I was just saying, this topic needs to be put down. I'm not going to do an entire regular season, which is going to be brutal enough and how hard it's going to be. With the whole, well, do you think Ayuk has got 5 games left here now? Do you think Debo is going to get traded all year? Like, I'm not talking about 2025 once 2024 starts. That's like a promise I'm making to myself. I'm going to be in the moment this year.
That's the nice thing about the NFL. There's not really any kind of burgeoning in-season trade market for the most part. I mean, we've seen it become a bigger deal in recent years. More teams are taking advantage of trades, but it's not that big of a, you know what I mean? It's not that big of a thing. It's not like the NBA trade deadline or the baseball trade deadline where there's a bunch of trades. For the most part, what you got going to camp is what you're going to have that year.
And there you go. There's all your 49ers news. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye, everybody.
Good to see everybody. We're out. We're out.
That's really it, Larry. I mean, there's just not a lot going on. This is the calm after the storm of the NFL draft, obviously. Everyone just sort of settles down. I mean, John Lynch is probably about to take his vacation. Kyle Shanahan maybe get one more in. But what, we got voluntary rookie OTAs starting soon? Is that?
Yeah, tomorrow? Tomorrow they'll be down there for some media stuff. Friday they'll hit the field. I think maybe it's a Friday, Saturday deal. And this is actually kind of a big day. This is like, maybe I was saying to Guy Haberman that in the last stream that it's like, draft is like Christmas Day for football fans. Now you get to that's when you see all the boxes. Now it's the day after Christmas and you're actually getting a chance to play with your toys.
You unwrap the presents.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really, really excited people at rookie minicamp because it's like, look at this guy. And then there's a lot of, what the heck did we draft? Nobody will admit it, but he'll be like, you know what? This guy doesn't look like NFL. And so to me, it's like, if you draft athletes that can't play, then sometimes you're wowed at minicamp because you're like, wow, look at the athleticism. Yeah, but they sucked. They played on their college team and they weren't very good. So then you get disappointed in season. But then if you draft a bunch of guys who are, great college players, but they're not really NFL athletes, then you get to minicamp and you're like, this guy was that good at, Iowa. This guy was that good at Illinois. Really? He doesn't look good here. Yeah, because you drafted a guy who's got great college production, but he's not an NFL athlete. So where you really hit is when you can find advanced athletes that were also great college football players. Then they show up at rookie minicamp and you're like, this guy knows how to play and this guy's fast and big and explosive and watch out. So that's when
I remember us, being together very early in our careers, my career out here in the Bay Area, and you can feel the tone change around draft picks after that rookie minicamp. I remember us being down there and essentially, it was the year Shiloh Rashal was the draft pick. Everyone's like, hey, so you've had Shiloh Rashal for about a week now. How do you feel about him? And it was, yeah, Shiloh's here. He
reported.
He's here. And
he reported, and he's part of the group. And, we're just trying to coach him up and get him better.
Exactly. You could tell right away they were not half as impressed as they were on draft day. I don't think I was allowed back in the facility the day after they drafted AJ Jenkins, so I wasn't there for the first day of AJ Jenkins practice. I had laughed in Trent Baalke's face so hard.
But then there's whispers. I mean, the year that the Niners drafted T.O., it's like, dude, you should have seen this kid Owens at minicamp. It's amazing. And I think if you said to me, who's going to be the buzz of minicamp, I think it's going to be Jacob Cowing, because Cowing is a combination of great physical gifts and great collegiate production. And I think when people see him and his ball skills and his route running and his hands and how strong he actually plays, and how fast he is and how, this guy had, as we said a couple times in the last few weeks, the last 2 college games for Cowing, 15 catches, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's really a good player. And then he went to Indy and ran 4.38. So that guy's going to hit the field, and people are going to be like, dreaming the dream. Like,
right.
This guy's going to be a bigger player for us this year.
And look, then you're going to get some unseasoned. I mean, I remember, look, I love these guys. They're my friends. But I remember Bonte and Shasky going down and watching one training camp of Trey Lance. And it was if the two of them had never been cut a press credential to go to a football practice ever before in their lives. They're like, oh my God, Trey Lance, the era is now. It's here. It's over. It's over. Trey Lance, get them more to buy 5 Trey Lance jerseys, 1 for each and every number that he wears. 5. You're going to need 5 Trey Lance jerseys. That's how good he is.
He's going to win Super Bowls, not 1, not 2, not, right. Like that.
So you get that too. And that's part of the fun of training camp. I remember the subtle buzz of Colin Kaepernick's rookie year, where just smart people were saying, this Kaepernick kid is going to push Alex Smith this year. You can feel it. And Harbaugh likes his attributes. And I remember that story and going live with that on Sports Phone to be shouted down. No, this is Alex Smith's team. Blah. I'm like, how could anyone feel that way? So, yeah, there you go. There's your 49ers kind of news. Oh, Larry's got something for us. He's off camera working on something. Larry, I'm looking directly into your ear. Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Would you mute yourself?
No, all of a sudden I hit the cord, and then all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. You were muted, and then I realized there was something on my end, and then I unplugged and replugged, and there we go. But can you hear me? We're all good?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
What was your point that you just made? Because I didn't hear it.
Oh, it was basically there ain't a lot of shit going on right now. Yeah. Training camp is going to get underway. We'll get some buzz out of these rookies reporting to training camp. But again, we were just making fun of the level of rookie training camp buzz. So take it all with a grain of salt, I guess would be my best advice to every 49er fan as they're watching their favorite host or content creator or whatever walking out of Santa Clara after one practice declaring that they've seen the future or there is no future to be seen. Like, calm down, everybody. The one thing that does stink, and I really thought we were going to have it this week, and it's the first time that I'd looked deeply into it since the Super Bowl, of what the 49ers schedule is going to look like.
Schedule release is coming, they say, huh?
Yeah, the 15th. So next week is when everyone pretty much expects it to come out now. And there is an argument, Larry, that we were just talking about, that the way that these games come at you deeply affects your season. When is your bye week? How many really good teams are you playing in a row? Who's stacked on top of who? Who do you get after your bye?
To me, the big one, and it's the most undercovered element of a sport that's covered, over the top, is the Warren Sharp rest breakdown. I mean,
yep.
That's where you're like getting to look on the other side of the curtain to see which teams the league is favoring and trying to push. Last year, they had Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. They had the Jets on Hard Knocks. They wanted badly for the Jets to make the playoffs. And then Rodgers goes down in week 1, but the Jets had a rest advantage. I believe, now maybe I'm wrong, or you could look it up, but I believe they had a rest advantage in 13 of 17 games. And the Bears had a rest advantage in none of their 17 games. So, we see everything, right? They give us everything. And you turn on you go to ESPN.com, you go to the scoreboard, NFL week 1, you get both teams, you get the spread, you get their over under, you get their records, which team's at home, which team's on the road. What there's a weather icon now that will tell you what the weather will be in Pittsburgh for the game on Sunday. You get everything except for the vital stat of rest advantage. And if you want to say, what was the game last year where the Niners looked the worst, where they just looked bad? It was the Bengal game. Well, guess what? If you had read the Warren Sharp article that I read going in the preseason about rest advantage and disadvantage, and he went week by week, you saw that the Bengals had a 13-day rest advantage.
Didn't the Browns come off a bye week too? Weren't the Browns coming off of a bye week?
I believe so, but I think it was more like 4 days of extra or 5 days of extra or whatever.
Right.
But you had 13 days of extra for, like, the Niners had played the week before on the road, traveled home, and were on a short week.
Right.
And you had the Bengals off of a bye week where they had played on a Thursday, I think. They rolled in with 13 extra days of rest advantage, and it showed.
Yep.
It absolutely showed that day. So to me, this is the one thing I wish the NFL, when they, ask yourself this: did you bet on the NFL at all last year? And if you did you check the rest advantage or disadvantage for your teams in that game? And I would say most NFL fans never, ever look at the rest advantage.
I think it's one of those topics that people just don't consider. And
and it's massively important.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. Rest advantages, disadvantages, how these teams are all stacked on top of each other. Where's your bye week? Of course, all of that stuff matters, but I don't think any of it trumps the fact that no matter what it looks like, no matter how it rolls out, Larry, the 49ers schedule is going to be absolutely savage. I mean, a great nobody got hurt 49ers team at best is looking at 12 wins against this schedule, I would think, right now. It is fucking savage. They get Green
Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Philly. Do they get Philly?
No. But there are 8 teams that reached the playoffs last year on the schedule.
There's variable teams, that could be good or bad, because teams do, get better and get worse.
True.
But to me, the two factors that I'm looking for, they've got non-division road games against Buffalo and Tampa. If they get Buffalo and Green Bay after Thanksgiving, if they get Miami and Tampa in September, then the schedule's brutal.
Right.
Now, if you can flip it and you can get Buffalo and Green Bay before Thanksgiving and Tampa and Miami after September, when the oppressive weather, moves on by, then, like the Niners played in Jacksonville this year. The weather was perfect, but if they had played that game in week 1, that's a major advantage for the Jaguars.
Yeah, it could be a big muggy mess. Look,
Florida, if you've ever been in Florida in the summer or in September, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, we're talking about guys cramping up in the fourth quarter, all kinds of, you need your depth. You're traveling from west to east. It becomes a very difficult game to win.
So they got the team that beat them in the Super Bowl on their schedule. They got the team that they beat in the NFC title game on their schedule. They're going to play 6 division winners. They're going to play 8 teams that were in the playoffs last year. They've got the Bears on the schedule, who have the makings of a tougher out than they were last season. And there's a chance that they could play overseas,
which could be a major advantage, because that would be a Vikings-Niners game, most likely, according to the rumors, and that the Vikings would be the home team, yet it would be in London, where the Niners would probably commandeer 85% of the crowd. So
easily.
Yeah, so you're talking about like kind of what they had in Mexico City when they played the Cardinals, and there was the Cardinal home game. That's almost like another Niner home game.
Well, how about this? There are very few NFL stadiums where the 49ers don't have 80% of the crowd sitting in there, but Minnesota is not one of those places. They are very, very diehard about holding on to their tickets in Minnesota. They love their stadium. They love their Vikings. The home schedule will, of course, have the Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks, but the Bears, the Lions, the Jets, the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Dallas Cowboys are all coming to Santa Clara. On the road, it'll be all your division opponents: Packers, Vikings, Dolphins, Bills, Buccaneers. And
can you say that home, the non-division home games again?
Yes. In no particular order, because we don't know the order yet. Bears, Lions, Jets, Patriots, Chiefs, Cowboys.
That Chiefs game, that's a vital game too. It's like at some point, and I think that point is this next game, The Niners got to show they can beat the Chiefs.
You got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah.
I mean, you got to show that you can beat the Chiefs before you can, and that's going to be a major emotional game from the standpoint of if they lose that game again, there'll always be this belief where if you get into the Super Bowl with Kansas City, you don't have a shot. If you get a win over them, at least if you did play them in the Super Bowl, there's the potential, the doubt that creeps into their mind of, they're going to take confidence into that game no matter what. But if you beat them in the regular season, at least there's some doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it would be insane in any scenario as we know it right now to favor the 49ers over the Kansas City Chiefs in their next Super Bowl, should they ever meet in another Super Bowl. That's just the way it goes. But
if it's not the Kansas, Kansas City's, have been there so often that you wonder if maybe it won't be their year this year. It's in New Orleans. The last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, we were there. Or I'm not sure if it was the last time it was in New Orleans. Last time the Niners played a Super Bowl in New Orleans, we were there.
We were there.
How great would it be? Niners-Ravens rematch in New Orleans?
I mean, sign me up.
How great would that be?
Sure.
How great would that be?
Are we there? Are we sitting next to each other?
Oh, beignets and cochon and the quarter and vomit in a bag. Yeah, we're there.
I think there is an awful lot I remember from that trip. The way you and I looked at each other after the 49ers on their very first offensive snap of the Super Bowl got an illegal formation, the two of us just looked at each other like, are you kidding me?
I'll tell you the other thought of that Super Bowl is how cramped the Superdome is and what that vibe was like. It wasn't panic, but when the lights went out, people don't understand the AC went out.
It got hot in there fast.
It started to get stuffy. Right. And it was like we're sitting in a stuffy dome in New Orleans, and it was like we were 20 minutes away from people starting to panic.
Well, and you couldn't help but think of like, what was it in here with no lights, no running water during Katrina?
Oh,
when the whole city came in here to survive a storm, like imagine what that must have been like. So
disaster.
Yeah, the whole thing was certainly a unique Super Bowl experience to say the least.
We partied.
Super Bowl.
We partied. We drank. We did it up big.
There was fun. Fun was had.
We went out at the night began at 10 or 11 and ended at 5. I mean, it was lots of all night partying in New Orleans. There's no better party town in America.
Remember when frickin' Lee Hammer, he made you and I come in on Saturday afternoon before the Super Bowl and do like
show
at the 6-hour-long show. Like we were on from noon to 6. And
it was great too. It was a great show. We had great guests. We had all kinds of stuff.
Oh, we were fabulous, but the conditions were not. Yeah, it was. It was
the best of times. It was the best of times.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Do you remember the scene trying in the airport on the Monday, the next day, as everybody's trying? Like New Orleans airport is just such a minor league airport. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It was like they have like one bathroom for every 800 people. You got to SFO, there's like 800 stalls for like every 2 people in the terminal. I mean, I felt like I was in a third world sitting there in the New Orleans airport that morning. We're all sitting on the ground. And do you remember that? People were lined up wall to wall.
It's the longest security line I've seen anywhere that wasn't like landing in Cabo. Like normally to be in a security line that deep, you're going through customs in a new country.
It felt like a foreign country. Yeah, it felt really. I mean, people say, "Hey, have you ever traveled internationally?" And you say, "Well, no, but I've been to New Orleans." That's about as close as international travel.
You, me, Mike Holler, and the barista going to Cochon for a great dinner. That was fantastic.
Fried alligator.
Yeah, I remember Mike Holler was all nervous about eating fried alligator. He wasn't about it. And then he took one bite and he's like, it tastes like chicken.
Yeah, chicken nuggets, chewy chicken nuggets.
They were freaking great. But yeah, we went to Herb Saint. We both had the gumbo there. That place was a classic.
We went to the oldest bar ever that didn't even close during Katrina. Remember that place? It was way down on the end of the quarter.
At the very end of Bourbon Street. God, what's the name of that place?
I think I gambled. Yeah, I forget. Didn't even have doors. Remember, we had like a curtain. And then I gambled at
blanking on the name
Caesars or Harrah's or whatever. We went to that one bar that rotated around. Remember that thing?
Saw Doogie Howser.
Doogie
Howser at the bar, and then while you were at the bar, I got up to use the men's room, and you weren't in the lobby with me. And Paul McCartney walked through the lobby, and the earth stood still to watch Paul McCartney walk through a lobby. It's like watching everyone in a lobby being starstruck all at once. And it worked on all levels. Didn't matter how old we were.
We were there all week too. So it was like we had a big dinner with Matt Miller. Remember, we went out to dinner with all the Bleacher Report people.
Yeah.
He was working for Bleacher Report at the time.
By the way,
NFL draft guru.
Lafitte's
is the oldest bar.
The Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop. The oldest continuously running bar in New Orleans. They would literally let the Superdome collapse before they would let an inch of water into Lafitte's.
Great town, man. Great town.
It is a great town. It's again, the Super Bowl should go to New Orleans, Miami, and Vegas, and that should be the list pretty much. By the way, as we look at we talk big dreams. It's probably not going to happen, but we were thinking about doing some like a show on the road this year. Where would you want to go of all the games? And we're going to eliminate all the division opponents because you can go there any year. So sorry, Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks. But of all of your games,
I haven't been to SoFi. I wouldn't mind going to SoFi.
I would like to go to SoFi. That's doable though. That's not even hard. We could do that. Packers, Vikings. Here's the thing. I would really like to see that Vikings game because I heard that stadium is freaking awesome in Minnesota. But I'm going to allow.
It's in London though. Then maybe
for this thought exercise, that game is in London. So Larry,
I would like to go to
London.
I'd like to go to London.
Rather go to London, Green Bay to Lambeau Field, Dolphins, Miami, Buffalo. Let's just rule that one out pretty much. Or Tampa
Niagara
Bay.
Falls, though. You go check out Niagara Falls.
Have you ever seen Niagara Falls with your own two eyes?
No, but I've heard it's amazing.
It is a holy shit moment. It really is. You see it and you're like, wow, nature, something else. Like every time any picture you've seen of it, any scene from The Office where Jim and Pam get married on the boat in front of the Maids in the Mist or whatever, no matter how you've seen it on TV, it doesn't do it justice. Like that thing is freaking huge. It really is. So
more impressive, Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon?
So I've never been to the Grand Canyon, so I can't answer that.
I haven't either.
There you go. So I'm going with Niagara.
I've been all over America. I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Where's Arizona? New Mexico? Where's Grand Canyon?
It's in Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah. And New Mexico. I think doesn't it spread to a couple states?
It's a big old canyon.
It's grand.
It's a grand and it's a canyon.
You know, they were going to call it the Big Fucking Canyon. And then someone was like, no, let's make it a little more family friendly. Let's call it Grand.
Let's call it the Grand.
Look at this big fucking hole in the ground.
Look at that. It's a big son bitch.
So, yeah, where would you rather go? I'm agreeing with you there.
Well,
look,
okay, so
I've always wanted
Miami.
to go to Lambeau.
I mean, Miami. It depends. If it's like December or like I wouldn't mind going to Miami. Late. Because that's another great party town. Miami, Green Bay. There's nothing there. I mean, there's literally. I've been to Green Bay. I mean, what are we reporting live from the Piggly Wiggly? It's like, we're at Krueger's where we just saw, Luke Musgrave walk out with a 6-pack of beer. It's like, it's that kind of place. There's nothing going on there. So Green Bay is like a great stadium and it would be great to hit a couple of those bars and that kind of thing. But that's, come on. That's not Miami.
Look, you're going to get Midwestern hospitality. People like throw bratwursts at you in the parking lot as you're walking in, and they see that you're not from there. So you get a very nice, warm welcome. You get Lambeau, go to the Packers Hall of Fame, which I hear is like very impressive. So
I think I would want to go to London. London's one of the great cities of the world, and I've never been to London.
Larry. Larry.
And I would definitely want to go to London with the Niners.
It's amazing. London is absolutely.
Plus the London fans, all of our, several of our regulars in the chat are people that are Niner fans from the UK.
Well, Larry, you're huge in London, right? Don't you do stuff for Sky Sports?
Yeah, I mean, I've done stuff for Sky Sports and Talk Sport and Talk Sport too. So I got peeps in London.
There you go.
I got places I can stay and things to do in London.
The Werewolf of London, Larry Krueger, everybody. His hair was perfect. Again, so as winners of the NFC West, the 49ers, they're going to play the winners of the NFC East, the NFC South, and the AFC West. So by default, you get Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Chiefs all on the schedule. Plus, you're playing the AFC West, the NFC North, and everyone in your own division twice. To circle back to where this whole conversation started, Larry, no matter how it's doled out, no matter how they stack up on top of each other, the schedule is going to be absolutely savage and brutal to negotiate for the 49ers. And that is with everything firing on all cylinders and nobody getting hurt all year long. If there is any sort of element of this is a battered football team, this is an injured football team, they will sink in this schedule if they are unhealthy. I mean, most teams sink in any schedule.
They're pretty freaking loaded, though. I mean,
they are loaded. They
are pretty freaking loaded. I mean, anything can happen. Injuries, everybody's the wrong series of 3 injuries away from being pretty mediocre. But, if, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs if they lose Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Pacheco, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's like when you play, the day you play, and how healthy are you, and how rested are you, and all this stuff. But yeah, no, it's going to be, it's going to be a brutal schedule. And, one of the things I titled this stream was, as far as is there pressure on Shanahan this year? In some ways, I kind of feel like not just the fact that their window is starting to close around them and they're not early in their tenure now. They're now, they've been at it for a while. He's taken 2 shots at the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City twice. But I kind of feel like, now granted, a lot of it is crazy people that don't know shit. But the Shanahan's got to be fired crowd is just starting to be a thing. And there is mounting pressure in my mind on Shanahan, not just among the crazy people, but also among, football people around the league who are like, you know what? They didn't handle the rules in overtime well. That was not a good moment for Kyle. And then if you think about, the year before where they lose in the NFC Championship game to Philly and he didn't challenge. And it's like, he keeps shooting himself in the foot in big, big games. He's a great coach. He's got an offense that absolutely produces points and works. He's as respected as any coach in the game almost, outside of Andy Reid maybe. If there were a coach draft, I think he's a top 3 pick for sure. So he's established and in some ways, very, very safe, but the criticism around him is getting louder because the fuck ups in the big games are getting more pronounced. And this last, we didn't know the rules in overtime thing. And, we wanted it third and multiple players saying, we never talked about it. It's like that was not Kyle Shanahan's best moment.
No.
And I wonder if there'll be some groundswell of anti-Shanahan if things don't go well this year.
Hey, I had Mike Sando on Monday, and he alluded to this too, just saying, eventually winning coaches lose their locker rooms. And Kyle Shanahan, can he go to and lose a third Super Bowl and just get away with it unscathed, that's a big ask. It really is.
Think about it too. Not only has he lost 2 Super Bowls, that definitely could have won, but he also traded 3 number 1 draft choices for a quarterback who was a bust.
Yeah.
They had to offload for a 4th round pick.
Kyle Shanahan, if he weren't such a good coach, would have absolutely been undone by some of his worst moments. You better keep reaching Super Bowls if you're going to survive some of the massive mistakes that he's made. The vacuum that he lives in, Larry's fascinating. It really is, because there is the constant state of uncertainty that all NFL teams exist under. Yet there's also the totally established, very good at what he does. Most franchises would kill to lose a Super Bowl, outside of winning it, the way that as often as Kyle finds himself in a big game at the end of the year, NFC title games and Super Bowls.
They've been in 4 or 5 NFC championships.
Yeah, most franchises would kill for a level of failure that 49ers fans and themselves have to deem not good enough. And that's why they're the 49ers and these other teams are the fucking Tennessee Titans. You know what I mean? Like
Marv Levy never got fired, right? Marv Levy didn't get fired for losing 4 Super Bowls.
I can't remember
it ended,
exactly how the exit occurred. I can't remember, but
it was years after that. He was there for years after that. Andy Reid got run out of Philly. Andy Reid now has 3 rings.
Mm-hmm.
So was Philly right to run out Andy Reid, or were they hyper negative and made a premature decision? And I know a lot of people say, well, they won a Super Bowl anyway with Doug Peterson. Okay, they won 1.
Right, and he's Doug
Peterson. And he's gone. But they won 1 with Peterson. Andy Reid was there for 13 years, didn't win any, now has won 3. Did they make a good decision getting rid of Andy Reid? You know what I mean? I don't know. I would say no.
So it's all of the real stuff about the NFL that we know, the real pressures of being a head coach. There's all of that on Kyle Shanahan. He exists in this space of incredibly secure based on how much ownership believes in him, yet locker rooms, fan bases, all wanting more, maybe tired of coming up short. There's that. And then there's the whole fact that Kyle's got to look in the mirror. And every single man that I've ever met measures the length of his own shadow in comparison to his father's first, right? There's other men you're competing against other men in the entire world, but there's only one man who will always be rooting for you, and it's usually your father. And you're still competing against him. And Kyle is trying to step out of his father's shadow still as a Super Bowl champion. And there's that element of pressure, which might keep him up at night more than the other elements of it. Because
and then you wonder about it. You say keep him up at night. That also jogs the thought. I think it's pretty clear that Kyle, these losses sit with him. Why is Trent Taylor here after they muffed a punt in the Super Bowl? You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you get the feeling that it's like, when they lose, he's like, we can't lose that way again. So it's like I don't care about a explosive returner. Get me Trent Taylor. Give me somebody back there who I know is going to catch the ball. And so I think in a lot of ways you can kind of see that the losses kind of are sticking with him.
Kyle's going to be in his 8th year with the 49ers this season, and he has aged 15 years since taking the head coaching job of the 49ers. And the man is going grayer faster than I am. And I'm going to be like Santa Claus in another few years here, Larry. It's going so white so fast.
And it's not just the hair changing. It's just like you can see it's like he's the beaten down look. It's like they're like presidential years or something.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Dude, being in the NFL is not good for your overall health.
Well, those guys don't. They were living hard. I'm not saying they're drinking and partying. I'm just saying they're burning the candle at both ends.
Right. Oh, before a single cocktail is poured, they've burnt it on both ends.
Right.
So then you got those who might actually go out and have a few drinks. And look, it was good to see Shanahan at the Brady roast. He looked very relaxed and smiled. I've seen Shanahan with a cocktail in his hand and a couple of Cabo pictures. Good. Detach. Get yourself out of the NFL for a week if you can. Everybody needs a vacation. Everybody has to lay their burden down and step away for a minute. It's good mental health. We all know that. Hopefully Kyle has done that because, again, when the grind of an NFL season begins, I don't know if there's any other grind in sports that wears men down to their nub faster than just being in the NFL. It is savage. And then there's the whole, element of how fame and success can absolutely sink you as well. And that's another little story here. You got more on Shanahan? I'll stick on Shanahan as long as you want to. But have you seen the latest on Rashee Rice here, Larry?
Well, yeah, he's having problems with the law, and he's going to miss some time. And I've followed some of the Rashee Rice headlines.
And it's just so disappointing. And I, he's a 24-year-old kid who is a rookie in the NFL, has a breakthrough year where he is the number one target of Patrick Mahomes, not named Kelsey, and he wins a Super Bowl. And, it's a big, Rashee Rice, what's he going to be now? Look at what a great rookie year he just had. He then gets arrested in April for his involvement in a 7-car crash in Dallas, which left at least 7 people with injuries. He's facing 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of collision involving seriously bodily injury, and 6 counts of collision involving injury. It was a reckless driving drag race. And the nicest thing you can say about it is, thank God he wasn't drunk, and thank God nobody died. But people were really, really hurt, like life-altering injuries because of a traffic accident caused by Rashee Rice, who was responsible for both cars. His name was on both green sheets or whatever the blue, whatever you own a car with, the lease, or the deed of ownership.
Pink slip.
The pink slip thing. I knew there was a color involved. Thank you very much, Larry. And so you got that hanging on you. So like you're a 24-year-old who had the world by the short and curlies, and the very first thing you do is you massively fuck up. And then what do? Well, just this week, it looks like he found himself in trouble again. The Dallas Morning News on Tuesday said the police have officially pressed no charges, but wide receiver Rashee Rice is a suspect in an alleged assault that injured a man in a Dallas nightclub earlier this week. I mean,
stay home, bro.
Yeah, who are the
life in the fast lane? Life in the fast lane, man.
Who are the older men in this man's life pointing him in the right direction? Who are his mentors? Who are the people who are looking out for him? Not his best time possible, but just for him. Because it's officially time for Rashee Rice to hand over the car keys and stay fucking home between now and week 1. You know what I mean? Like, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. What are you going to say if you're Andy Reid? Both your kids are massive pieces of shit. And, you can't claim to be the good father of anybody if you're Andy Reid. He's a better football coach than he is a family man. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, no, I know
greatest
that.
family man.
Oh, dude.
But I mean, his kids have had problems. Have had problems.
All right. Well,
I mean, download the Uber app. That's what I would say to a lot of these guys, or get a car service. Heck, if I owned an NFL team, I'd have a car service. I'd have a car service sponsor, and I'd have my guys just, on like some premium list at the car service.
Well, the secret is, Larry, is every single one of these teams has a fixer that'll come get their players anywhere, anyhow, and they got a fixer sitting in every state in the union. There's no like, oh, you're a 49er, but you're drunk in Tallahassee? Well, we got a guy in Tallahassee who will come get you too. You don't even need Uber. We got a guy. Yeah. Like every single one of these teams has that guy, and players still don't take advantage of it. Just it's amazing how often, and this isn't just athletes.
This isn't just athletes,
but it's amazing how often successful, prestigious, moneyed up young men, instead of that being like a windfall of good fortune, it turns into a toxic mix of what ends up taking you down. Dealing with success is as hard for some people as it is for others to deal with failure.
Well, I just think it's a problem across society, and it just happens to intersect with professional athletes, and so we think it's like a professional athlete thing. It's not. It's happening to everybody in all these office buildings in every city in America, and people are making bad decisions and learning from it. And some people have to touch the stove to know it's hot, and get burned. Other people can just live vicariously through others. And I watched Bob touch the stove and he burned his hand. So I decided I wouldn't touch the stove, So it's a part of growing up. And unfortunately, you would think in our computer world, in our digital world, where everything's just a series of code away, it's like you can get a ride, you can do but guys feel untouchable. They're on top. Nothing can take me down. And then they wind up taking themselves down. So
it's a shame. Again, it happens in all walks of life. It really does. It's not just professional athletes, but professional athletes have reporters that follow them around and chase stories. And so that's why we hear about them, and, not the insurance guy who had the exact same thing happen to him. No one's covering, your local State Farm office the way that they're covering the 49ers.
I mean, all I would say to anybody, if I'd say it to my own kid, there's things that, that can change. There's mistakes, and mistakes are fine as you're growing up. But then there's the kinds of mistakes that you're going to have to live with. And you get behind the wheel drunk, you're going to have to live with the repercussions of that. That may kill somebody. It may kill yourself. You may wind up with a DUI. You get a girl pregnant, there's repercussions of that. There's going to be issues with that. So it's like, don't make the kinds of mistakes that are going to ruin the rest of your life.
I remember the very first time my dad took me out with my learner's permit. You're driving around a really big parking lot somewhere. And my dad was not like a super serious guy. Like whenever he was striking that serious tone in his voice, it really stood out from the other moments. And I just remember the very first time he handed me the keys, he said, "Son, you are now in charge of a weapon that can kill. Don't think of this as a car. Think of this as a weapon that can kill. So that's how you handle it." I remember I was like, "Jesus, Dad, you're being really serious about this," but that stayed with me my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, when I was teaching my kids to drive, and I've got 2 that drive, or 3 that drive, I should say. I always just said, "Hey, look, there's a lot going on your phone. There's a lot going on in the car." I go, if you just keep your eyes forward, you're going to be fine. Just keep your eyes forward.
Check those rear view mirrors too, though. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm just keep your eyes forward. Right. You gotta, as you said, as your dad said, you got a weapon here. As long as you know where what's in front of you, that's really, just keep your eyes forward. Don't drink and drive. Don't get in the cars with anybody who has drank and now is driving. Make better decisions.
Right.
And it's hard for some people, and especially, and then maybe some people don't have somebody in their life that can say to them, "Hey, look, this is your boundaries. Here are your boundaries, son. You have to stay within these lines. You got freedom. You can do this. You can make your mistakes, but you make this kind of a mistake where you kill somebody, we're going down together. Somebody, they're going to seize our house, our property, our it's going to work. We're all going to die here, in a bad situation."
Just another piece of advice that every single just young man and young women need to hear, because this is really important. Just statistically, if you believe in statistics mattering, if you accept, chances and odds and percentages in your life in any way, shape, or form, know this: the percentage or chance of something happening after 2 a.m. that are good for you is very much overshadowed by the percentage of things that could go wrong for you. And so the best advice I think you can give any young person is simply this: Don't chase the night. There's another one coming tomorrow. You don't need to have as much fun as possible every day, every night, 24 hours a day. Calm down. Calm down. Your 20s last a decade. There's another good part. There's another party coming tomorrow. Just don't chase the night. There's another one coming. This is good advice from Uncle Damon. It really is. And
I was watching a comedian the other day, and I forget, and the guy's like, in your 20s, your buddy calls and says, hey, we're going this way. You're going here. You don't even ask where it is. You're like, oh, I'm in. I'm going. I'm there. I'm there. Did you see that? Yeah. And then he's like, in your 30s, you're like, hey, I'm going to take my own car. And, in your 40s, you're like, I ain't going there.
I'm not going.
I ain't going. I ain't going.
Oh, man. So,
classic.
Look, there's a little advice from Uncle Larry and Uncle Damon. Be good, be smart, make good choices, kids. Make good choices. Don't
drink and drive and wear a condom. I mean, just wear a condom.
Wear a condom.
There you go.
Wrap it up. How about this, Larry? We don't famously, we're not known for talking an awful lot of hockey here, but I think we got a little story, and it certainly affects Bay Area sports fans. And the Sharks have picked up their biggest win in a decade? The Sharks earned their biggest win in at least 3-4 seasons. They won the NHL draft lottery, and they're going to be picking number one. And what a year for them to be picking number one, because the kid who just won the Hobey Baker at BU, Boston University, is the number one ranked hockey player. He is said to go number one. It's assured, is Macklin Celebrini. And that is Rick Celebrini's son, who is the head athletic trainer of the Golden State Warriors.
I had Ned Coletti on the show last night. He scouts for the Sharks, and he's like, this kid's a star. He said he's absolutely a star. Now, he's really, really young.
He's 17.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably going to be a couple of years, but he's like, this kid's a star.
He won the Hobey Baker Award, which is college hockey's equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. He's the first. He could become the first player to win that award and then go first overall in the NHL draft. He says he's going to make a decision to either return to BU or play in the NHL next season after the draft. I'm guessing with his father being so deeply involved in professional athletics, he's going to make the decision to return. I mean, you can't do more than win a Hobey Baker Award and be the number one overall pick. Like, there's really nothing left for him to do collegiately other than continue to enjoy being a kid in college. So maybe he does that, but it feels like he's always grown up a Sharks fan because of his dad's proximity to the San Jose Sharks, and being a Shark is something that he really wants to be. And pretty interesting, right? I mean, imagine that. You work in the Bay Area, your kid plays college hockey on the other side of the country and has a chance to come back and play hockey in the arena right down the street from you. That's pretty cool. I hope it happens.
I don't know the failure rate for these picks, so I can't really get super excited or not excited. I mean, he's going to be the first pick in the draft. Obviously, he's special, but I mean, what level is he special? Is he Connor McDavid? Is he the great one? Is he Gretzky? I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, I know he's a center.
I'm not prepared to do that segment. I'm here to tell you that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know how excited to get. I mean, Joey Bart was the second pick in the draft. I mean, how's he looking right now? So on one hand, it's like, I don't know. I mean, but some of these NHL players, it's like they seem like they do know at an early age who's truly special. Is he like the best player this year? Is he the best player in the last 5 years? Is he the best player in the last decade? Is he the best player since McDavid? And and these guys. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope he's an all-timer. It'd be incredible, and it would be. The Sharks need something. I mean, the pandemic really hurt the San Jose Sharks. It's funny. I went down to a Sharks game, right at the tail end of the pandemic, and it was like. And I'd gone to I think I went to a Warrior game on a Tuesday night, and it was a Sharks game on a Wednesday night. The Warrior game was sold out, packed. There was no empty seats. The Sharks game was like a third of the it was a Friday night against the Flyers, which is a pretty good little matchup. And, it was like a third full. So, I mean, I don't know what has happened there. I know it's a great organization. I know they've been down for a few years.
Well, Coletti got involved, and Coletti screwed. No,
but I mean, I know it's going to take a while for them to build it back up. It's not something you just rebuild in a minute. But you know, I mean, I'm not sure what's happened there. But I'll say this: I love going to the Sharks games. I love going to an NHL game. I mean, it's there's something about the coldness in the arena. There's like a crisp feeling. It's great entertainment. It's fast.
It's better in person than it is on TV.
Yeah, it's so much better in person.
It's always so much better in person than it is on TV. It's an easier game to follow.
Yeah. And the vibe in the arena is really cool.
Yeah.
And they play good music, and it seems like, you know, it's a good time. I mean,
I love
if it wasn't so freaking far away. I mean, it takes me like 90 minutes to get from Walnut Creek to San Jose.
Yeah, ask me about
the thing. We're a half hour away. I think I'd go a lot more. I basically go like twice a year.
It's why I'm done going to Niners games. That's how much I hate going to Levi Stadium. Like, I'll cover the team better from my fucking basement than most people at that stadium ever will. And I'm cool with that. Like,
but I'll say this. Place. There's something about the parking lot, you know, the game day experience in football when you think about the tailgating. I mean, Damon, I do the 95.7 the game pregame show with Lo Neal at one corner of the parking lot. We park in the top right corner of the parking lot in the media lot. So I've got to walk a diagonal.
I used to do the exact same thing, Larry. I know.
And it is awesome. I mean, I literally, somebody hands me a burger, a dog. I'm doing shots of Patron. I mean, there's so many people that are fans of this, of the content and the stream and the Krueger Show channel and what we're doing. I hear so many. I mean, to me, those are some of my happiest moments covering sports, is walking through that lot and getting a real taste of Niner pregame, man. People are getting it in, man. They're making their food, and they're drinking, and they're throwing the football, and it's awesome. I love it.
It's the closest you and I get to being recognizable or celebrity. You know, I mean, it's the closest to fame. It's the bottom rung of fame, locally sports talk radio famous. But, you know, you and I got to do it, and it's pretty cool. It's extraordinary to, you know, have just total strangers walking up to you and saying, I love what you do. Would you like a hot dog? Would you like a hit of this joint? Would you like a beer? It's very flattering.
Let's take a picture.
It's incredible.
And also, you know, football season is cool because it starts in the summer and it ends in the winter. So it's like literally, it's like different. You know, you've got these cold, crisp days. I mean, some of our best weather is really in the fall. You know, I mean, that's our heat. Our heat is in October. So, I mean,
September, October, November. Yeah.
People are having just a great old time. And I love walking through that parking lot and talking to Niner fans. And
right. But you prove my point. The best part of that entire trip is the parking lot.
The parking lot, because people are, as you said, throwing us shots, beers, and J's.
Right. The stadium's, you know, if the team is playing well, it gets loud, and that's good. But otherwise, it's the single most antiseptic, devoid of
football stadium.
What is it?
It's a football stadium. There's nothing romantic about any football stadium. Maybe Lambeau, maybe Soldier. That's about it. The rest of them are just. I went to the Link in Philly.
You either got character and it's set up well for fans, or you have no character and you leave half your fans.
Where's the character? There's no character in Philly at the Link. None. It's just a bowl. I think football stadium character is overrated. I really do. I don't think it really. I mean, there's a few stadiums. You're not going to have a recreation of Candlestick, because Candlestick was where the memories were. But guess what? When I was 10 years old in 1980, there weren't a whole lot of memories. It was just Candlestick. All those memories came from 1981 on. So I don't dislike Levi's. It's beautiful inside. Yeah, you know, there's no raccoons running up the escalators. You don't have to park in the dirt and water, and you know, I don't mind it. To me, I know there are a lot of people that are anti-Levi's, and it's chic to rip Levi's. I like it. I much prefer it to Candlestick.
I don't like where it is. I don't like its design. I think it's a
I'm getting there so early and leaving
mistake.
so late that I'm
Right,
not.
yeah.
I'm not in the traffic. I'm not. I don't have like. There's traffic issues on the Great American Parkway. My biggest complaint about Levi's is the media entrance is comical. I brought my son with me on Christmas for the Ravens game because he engineered the broadcast, so I got him a credential, so he came with me. You literally have to the way to get in is just it's like you wouldn't believe it. It's like go all the way to the left and then cut across 5 lanes of traffic to the right and get to the meet. I mean, their in and out of their lot is just so effed up. It's like it's the worst design I've ever seen for getting in and getting out. But that alone, not just design, the stadium itself, especially in the media section, very, very nice.
Well, but I hear the minute that you go and see what Atlanta did, the minute you get to Levi or the SoFi, the minute
SoFi's better.
Seattle Stadium is awesome. That's what the 49ers should have done. Just freaking copy that, basically. It would have been awesome. But anyway, here's the other thing that I had to bring up today because this is sports talk radio, grist for the mill if there ever was one. Did you see what Austin Rivers said? Austin Rivers, the Los Angeles Laker, was quoted somebody asked him about football or something, and he says, quote, "I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA."
That's true.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and it's one of those, you want to fight statements? But I think I agree with him.
Absolutely. I mean, are you telling me that take Zion Williamson? You think Zion Williamson couldn't play in the NFL?
Well, as often as he's hurt, no, I don't. I mean, and that's
there's the wuss factor,
right?
I mean, many of these NBA players they look big and ominous, but they're deep down. If they had one football practice, they'd be like, "I quit. I don't want to play." You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be hit. I mean, LeBron, if you in any way contact his body, he's like, flops like it's like he's, a soccer player, professional soccer player. So I mean, how would he take it if somebody actually crunched him in the middle of the field?
Right.
But he's also 6'9" and super athletic. And are you telling me LeBron James couldn't be a Pro Bowl tight end? I would say you're wrong. He probably could be.
Yeah. And look, we have seen guys have very little NFL or football experience.
Pat Beverly would be a dominating corner in the NFL. Seriously, he would. Remember Nate Robinson, the dunk contest guy? He played, I think, for a while at the University of Washington. Terrell Owens played hoops at Tennessee Chattanooga. I mean, there are guys that, Charlie Ward played both.
Yeah, Julius Peppers. Tony Gonzalez was a good basketball player at Cal. Antonio Gates, I don't even think touched a football until like his senior year of college. And then he's like, all right, I guess I'll do this too. And he goes on to be one of the best tight ends ever.
Well, I'm telling you, the guy that I keep talking endlessly about, the people, if you watch my channel, are tired of hearing about, is Mason Pline, who I advocated the Niners should sign as an undrafted free agent. They ultimately did. I'll tell you what he looks like on Friday. But he was a basketball player at Ferris State. And when I saw a draft show or draft video that mentioned him as a sleeper in the middle of the year, and I Googled him and YouTubed him, and I'm watching basketball highlights, and I'm like, I thought this guy was a football player. Sure enough, he played hoops at Ferris State, and he was a total dunker. Well, now, if you look at him now, he's going to try to make the Niners as a tight end, and the athleticism that he showed in playing an above-the-rim basketball style game at Ferris told me that he was plenty good athlete, enough to be an NFL tight end.
I mean,
it's rare though. There's a lot of guys that don't want to get hit. Well, I always thought Tommy T, working with Tolbert, if Tolbert had decided he wanted to play football, you know, I mean, he was like a perfect NFL tight end. I mean, 6'8", he could jump. You know,
right. Tolbert was
above average athleticism. He would have been a very, very good
Tolbert
NFL tight end prospect.
6'8" and thick, like big. He's just like there's no
powerful.
There's no skinny version of Tom Tolbert, right?
And he was a great jumper too. I mean, it wasn't just like Tommy could jump. He could, you know. So it's like if you're 6'8" and you can jump and run, yeah, I mean, I would take a chance. I was saying this the other day. I forget in what stream to who I was talking to, but I was saying if I were an NFL general manager and I had a staff of, you know, scouts, I got all kinds of scouts. I got junior scouts. And everybody wants to work for these teams. I would take on a couple young, talented scouts, and I would say, hey, you know, scouting potential, and say, your guys' project is to go find the basketball player that can be the all-world tight end. So I'm looking for you to find guys that are 6'5" to 6'9" with great strength and athleticism that aren't going to make it in basketball that we could sign and bring in and potentially turn into a developmental tight end, maybe flexed out, you know, because those guys exist. They exist. They're out there. But more people are dreaming the NBA dream because of the money, the guaranteed dollars, the global success than are dreaming the NFL dream, I think. And a lot of those guys could have a career in the NFL, but they're dreaming the NBA dream. A lot of the guys who are dreaming about being power forwards and centers, are you telling me Trace Jackson Davis couldn't be a really good tight end in the NFL? I bet you he could. He's pretty thick. Now he would look like a string bean, you know, at his size right now.
Completely redefine his body. I mean, everyone will. There's not a lot of similarities in body types, but athleticism translates one way easier than the other way because just basketball is such a skilled sport. You know, I mean, you got to have the handle. You got to have the shot. You got to have
there's a bucket. I'll say this, though. There's a basketball hoop in the Niners locker room. And you think a lot of these guys are great athletes. I mean, Trent Williams sits back there from 3-point land and just drains threes. I mean, he's 6'8", you know, he's 6'8", 330, and he's sitting there shooting jumpers like it's nothing. Aaron Banks has moves. Jawan Jennings is a great shooter. And, you know, but if you say to these guys, hey man, is football your first love? And a lot of times you'll hear, hey, man, if I could play in the NBA, I'd do it. Or if I could hit the curveball, I'd be in the big leagues. You know what I mean? It's like there's pain involved with being in the NFL and not guaranteed money. So you're risking more and you're making less. And these guys are no dummies. They know. So it's like, hey, if I could play in the NBA, I would. If I could play in Major League Baseball and hit the curveball, I'd do it. So.
Again, if you could choose to be a pro in any sport, trust me, kids, might not be sexy, be a golfer. Nothing better than just rolling up in some, you know, sent for you Lincoln Town car, playing 18 and going back to a 4-star hotel. You're as healthy at the end of your day as you were when you woke up, maybe a little sore. The worst thing that could possibly happen to you out there would be a blister or you wrenched your back a little. Like, that's as bad as it gets.
I mean, you know, it's just, yeah. Guys get crunched in the NFL.
It ain't good for you, Larry.
No.
It's not good for you.
Hey,
let's
couple other Niner notes before we give me the camp battle now that we've seen the draft and the free agency and we got pretty much these teams the way they're. Is there a camp battle that you're looking forward to seeing? Starts on Friday.
I've got my answer. Number one with the bullet is Dominic Pooney, because I think he actually has the most to gain from training camp. He is looking at starters who feel more vulnerable than any other position that the 49ers drafted in terms of draft picks threat to established starter. I think Pooney's got some vulnerable options in front of him. And I think that with a great camp, he could be a starter, where I don't know what Ricky Pearsall would have to do to unseat Debo or Ayuk. I mean, you'd have to have a dropless camp, right, where he did nothing but touchdowns. I don't think that exists. McCaffrey's obviously not being unseated by anybody. There is no quarterback battle to speak of. I don't think we're going to see
Tanner Mordecai against Brandon Allen.
Okay, but again, does that matter? I mean, it matters to them, obviously. But
right.
The minute
the one that I'm looking forward to is Garendo against Cody Schrader, because Garendo's big, strong, fast, but doesn't really have running back instincts. Cody Schrader is just got great running back instincts, tremendous heart, unbelievable. He's already beaten the odds. The guy went from Truman State to the first team All SEC running back this year, goes undrafted, and is a hell of a player. I mean, and I've talked to a bunch of my buddies who are SEC, that part of the country, they're Southeastern regional scouts, and almost every one of them has said, dude, that was an incredible pickup. Can't wait to see what he looks like in Shanahan's outside zone run game. So Cody Schrader, Isaac Garendo, that to me is going to be worth watching this summer.
I think that's going to be a really good one. I also think that there's let's see what this kid has in Renardo Green. Renardo Green, the corner, and then Malik Mustafa is probably best positioned for the most amount of snaps in this rookie class, right?
Well, that's the other question. It's like, we're going to find out a little bit more as we watch these camps and see these players move around. But like, do the Niners have a free safety still? I mean, I think Hufanga's better in the box. I know Jair can play free safety, but I think he's best in the box. And then you've got Mustafa, who might be best in the box. So I think Mustafa can play free safety. I think Jair can play free safety. But when it comes down to nut cutting time, I mean, all three of those guys are better at strong safety up close to the line of scrimmage. Do they have a free safety? Do they come out of one of these mini camps and go, you know what? We need to bring back Tayshaun Gibson, or we need to go sign a free agent, safety. Cause I mean, or is Renardo Green potentially the free safety? It'd be a small one, but I think that free safety spot is wide open.
By the way, I mean, I don't think there's any harder thing to evaluate in training camp than effectiveness of defensive linemen, because you're just not playing, tear your opponent apart to get to the quarterback. No one practices like that.
Right.
So it's tough to evaluate defensive linemen. It's really hard to evaluate corners, because first of all, the fact that you're here means you can run. The fact that you're here means you got hip swivels and back pedals and all the fundamentals that it takes to play this game running backwards. But who can tackle? Who can come up and pop a running back in the hole? It's really hard to evaluate safeties and corners in training camp. Don't you think? Those are very difficult.
What
we're looking at
personally,
here.
I think you can see the break on the ball on the corners. Like last year, I thought the Niners really fucked up when they cut Deshaun Jameson, and then he went to Carolina and played the whole year on Carolina's team, and he played a lot for them, and they wound up needing corners, desperately as the season went on, signing different guys off the street, and they had cut Deshaun Jameson and stayed with Matt Pryor. So to me, that it's not just about picking the right players. It's about then at the cut down, cutting the right players and keeping the right players. And there's an art form to it. Last year, they kind of blew that. So we'll see where it goes this year. But I think you can see a good corner breaks on the ball, whether it be in practice or in the game. It is hard to tell, though. To me, it's like the one area that I think is really difficult to kind of analyze is running back, because it's like you're sitting there, nobody touches the running back, or if they do, they touch them down, and it's like the running back keeps running. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like hard to know if a running back looks good because, you don't tackle the running back and then he still runs for 40 yards. And it's like, yeah, but did he make that one cut where he actually was tapped down in the backfield and he would have been tackled? You know what I mean? Like, you really don't get a feel for which running backs are good until the preseason, until it's live. At least
Just
in my mind.
Joji, who is always tuning in from Japan. So konnichiwa, Joji. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, all those good things. Any updates on Greenlaw's recovery? He's my favorite Niner. We haven't heard anything about Dre Greenlaw's recovery, rehab, any progress whatsoever. That doesn't mean it's gone good or bad. We have not heard much about it.
Well, I was talking to Dave Lombardi and Matt Barrows and some of the writers down there, kind of just, I mean, not that they know anything really, but I was just like, hey, what do you guys think? I mean, he tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. When do you think we're going to see him? And I think the common belief is they'll put him on the PUP list to start the year, which will automatically take him out for the first 6 weeks.
Right. So week 7 could be.
Well, I'm just saying that's when he would be first eligible to play. I would say it's not. I mean, it's a Achilles that he suffered in the Super Bowl. This used to be a career-ending or like a year and a half rehab type situation. Now it's like it's amazing the modern medicine that you can turn these guys around. I would say you're going to see him back probably around Thanksgiving, and the big question is, how diminished is he going to be? How much slower is he? I mean,
I think the best you can hope for, Larry, is that if the Niners are back in the postseason, he's reminding you of how good he was by the time the postseason starts.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Navarro Bowman had that terrible knee injury in Seattle. Now it was a terrible knee injury. I mean, he tore, I think it was the ACL, the MCL, and
all the L's, all the CLs. Yeah. There were no more CLs left to tear.
He was not the same guy when he came back. And that's the reality, is that Dre Greenlaw might not be the same guy. And so, it's not just when is he getting back? It's like, when does he get back, and at what level does he get back to? And has the ship already sailed by that point? So it's
and that just ups the ante on the importance of the year that Fred Warner's about to have, right?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. A buddy of mine who works at Safeway across the street, watches all of our shows and basically said to say hi to you. He's like, tell Damon I said hi. I used to call his show on KMBR.
Who is it?
You know what? I just know him as the checker. He's like checker number 6. I don't know his name. I'll have to look at it.
Safeway. Well, I tell you what, dude at the Safeway, thank you very much for watching.
But he said to me the other day, he said, who would you, he's like, Larry, I know you know this. You're the guy to ask. I'm like, okay, what's the question? He's like, who's the guy to watch for this summer? And I said, you're right. I am the guy to ask for that. No, but I thought about it for a second, and I said, I'll give you one on offense and one on defense. And I said, on offense, it's Jacob Cowing. It's the rookie from Arizona because of the route running, the speed, the production. I mean, he's got the production, he's got the athleticism, and we already talked about it. That's a great combo. And on defense, it's Jalen Graham. Jalen Graham was awesome in the preseason last year. And then they just decided to kind of redshirt him. And I asked Wilkes about him in December. I'm like, why am I not seeing Graham, with Greenlaw hurt? And he's like, well, he was a hybrid safety linebacker. And he gave me this mumbo jumbo about, why he's behind, the other guy. Who's the other rookie
Winters?
linebacker? D. Winters. But you know what? Graham, I talked to him. He's a great kid. I mean, he's a kid from Detroit, hardworking, respectful, great guy. And he is an enormous talent. And I just think that, I know I have Devondre Campbell's here, and a lot of people expect him to start opposite Warner. And D's going to be better for sure. But Jalen Graham, man. Jalen Graham. The two guys you got to watch for are Cowing on offense and Jalen Graham on defense. I mean, there's others, but those two guys to me.
Well, and I mean, it wasn't, Trey Womack was your big pick?
Sam Womack.
Yeah, excuse me. I
love Sam Womack. Sam Womack is also
Trey Womack. That's why the name's in my mind. But let me, if there's one thing, getting back to what we were talking about earlier with Shanahan and all the pressure that he's under and how will he evolve, what will he take from his losses, what will he take from these seasons that have been phenomenal years but just didn't end the right way, and apply to 2024. Larry, I hope that Kyle Shanahan believes in his own team's depth chart as much as you and I do. I hope Kyle Shanahan will take the burden off some of his starters and take some of the wear and tear off some of these guys by just going deeper into his own roster for quality snaps, not just reserved for end of the game or in garbage time, which you don't get a lot of in football.
Stop running McCaffrey into the ground and use your other backs. Stop throwing every ball to Debo. Use your other guys. Find another tight end to go with Kittle.
That's the only way guys like Pearsall and Cowing, I think, are going to have any kind of years that really feel like difference-making years. You talk about Cowing as a guy to watch. If Cowing is a guy to watch this year, then Ricky Pearsall is El Busto. How does Cowing even get on the field? I don't even know how Pearsall's going to get on the field.
Well, I know. I mean, that's the thing. They both, I don't know if it's an either or in that situation, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, they've got Debo, they've got Ayuk, they've got Jennings, and this is wide receiver 4. We're talking about wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5.
Right, for a team that doesn't use more than 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, or they'll use 3, but I know what you're saying. I mean,
and then you got Kittle, and then you got McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. So even
Cowing is real, and he's dynamic, and he's fast. So and with real ball skills. So I don't think that even if you have other guys, I think Cowing's going to be a hard guy to cover. And once he's a hard guy to cover in camp, then Shanahan's going to see. I mean, he's going to create separation. I used to joke with Ratty that DJ Jones should be called Leverage McLeverage because he just was such the built low to the ground guy. Well, Jacob Cowing should be called Separation McSeparation. You know what I mean? Because he's got everything that you need to separate. He's got the route running, he's got the crisp footwork, and then he's got the speed, and then he's got the nuance of the experience because he's played a lot. Everything that you need to separate, he's got in huge numbers. So he's going to separate. And once he separates in practice and they see him separate, it's like, then all of a sudden he's going to separate in games, and he's got good ball skills. So once Brock Purdy throws him accurate balls, there's going to be big plays to be made there. I think Cowing opens up their offense even more so than I think Pearsall is a continuity piece. Like it's 3rd and 4, and he runs a 3-yard, a 5-yard stop route or a little in cutter, a little out cutter, and Purdy throws it with anticipation because he knows exactly where the kid's going to be, and the Niners stay on the field. I mean, that was one other thing. You say, why is Pearsall here? Pearsall's here because the Niners went 3 for 12 on 3rd down conversions in Super Bowl 58, and they know they need a continuity piece to keep them on the field. And Purdy to Pearsall could absolutely be it. But as far as dynamic, that could change the whole geometry of the defense, that could really shake it up, it's Jacob Cowing.
And that's coming straight from Krueger McKrueger.
Yeah, Krug McKrug says go with Cowing. He's Separation McSeparation.
Hey, NBA playoffs. Knicks and Pacers have the stage all to themselves tonight on TNT. Game 2 of that series, Eastern Conference semifinals.
Who won game 1? Knicks.
Knicks took game 1, and look, Madison Square Garden.
The Knicks are rugged, man. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the Knicks. They don't, they're not star laden, but I'll tell you who's one of the most underrated players in the entire league is Josh.
Is the show like Madison Square Garden when it's at full throat in a Knicks playoff game is worth the price of admission. It really is. And look, if Jalen Brunson drops another 40-point game tonight, they're gonna have to send that jersey to the Hall of Fame. Like
he's good, man.
He's unbelievable. We're watching. My favorite thing about sports is watching a young player who's shown it to you really show it to you in the postseason, and you're like, okay, this is the step forward. We can now confer greatness on this player. Jalen Brunson went from guy who was overcast as the star of a poorly written script with the Knicks has now absolutely turned into box office level star in the NBA. And Anthony Edwards, what he's doing right now with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Larry, we are watching the future of the NBA like blossom right in front of us this postseason. And youth is being served everywhere. Oh,
yeah,
my
I mean,
God.
KD, Steph, LeBron, they're not winning anymore. Legler said it, and he's totally right. He's like, KD and LeBron and Steph are not winning any more titles. I totally agree. It's amazing. Even Denver looks suddenly old.
Yes.
Denver's done, by the way. Denver's totally done. They lost the first 2 at home. Now they're going back to Minnesota. That series might go 7, but they're done. They're absolutely done.
I can honestly say I've never seen an NBA team play that level of defense in the modern NBA that the Minnesota Timberwolves played. Like it was like Detroit bad boys level of just
but with length and athleticism and hustle.
It's
not how about McDaniels? Who's the guy McDaniels on that team?
Who, Josh McDaniels?
Is it Josh or Jaden or who?
Jaden McDaniels? Yes.
That guy's the length on that guy. He's just they got so many hands on so many balls, and they got in the passing lanes. And you're right about Edwards. Edwards, electric. He's just electric, and you can't stay in front of him. He can go to the hole at will. I mean, people are comparing him to Jordan. He's got a little bit of the Jordan attacking the bucket. He's not Jordan as a defender, but he's not Jordan. And also Jordan was bigger. I mean, Jordan was a solid 6'6". This guy is more like 6'4". But Anthony Edwards, I mean, if the Warriors had gotten Anthony Edwards, they'd still be a title contender. Instead, they got James Wiseman and traded him for Gary Payton and blew it. But Edwards wasn't there for them. But still, Edwards is a ridiculous star. Karl Anthony Towns. It's funny. I suggested on 95.7, I think filling in for you a year ago, that the Warriors ought to go after Karl Anthony Towns. And it was like I had suggested they should go after, freaking Bobby Sura or something. It was like, what? You don't know Jack. Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns is this and that and this and that. It's like, why do so many people hate Karl Anthony Towns? The guy's awesome.
I don't like big men who love the three. He
can shoot it. I mean, he stretches that's the modern game, is draw the other team's 5 away from the bucket. And you only can do that if you have a guy like Cat who can stick the 3 and makes you play honest. I mean, all this talk about these dream acquisitions for the Warriors this offseason, I've seen like 9 different articles. They should get Miles Turner. Well, I understand it. Miles Turner can shoot the 3 ball, and you want to have somebody opposite Draymond who can shoot it. The game's changed. There's bigger guys who are more skilled. Youth is being served. To me, the only really debate thing is who's the best young team in the league? Is it OKC? Is it Minnesota? Is it somebody in the East?
Here's the thing. Minnesota's about to run into a level of financial commitment that is just unsustainable. So even if Minnesota looks like they got that championship look this year, but they will not be repeating if they were to do that. Like, this team's going to get blown apart quickly. The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Can't you exceed the cap in the NBA to retain what you got?
Sure, but when you're in a small market in Minnesota and you're kind of in the gray area of a franchise being sold all at the same time, it's just Minnesota is going to be stripped for parts at some point here. It's just going to happen. Where the Oklahoma City Thunder, there is maybe no team in sports, Larry, that is better set up to have a successful decade.
Best GM in the game.
They got the best GM in the game. They've got a core of young assets right now that are producing in a way that they've yet to lose in this postseason. They've yet to allow an opponent over 100 points so far in the postseason.
Do you like them over Minnesota in a Western Conference Finals?
I think I might. I think
I'd go with Minnesota. Look at
it.
I know what you're saying. I mean, Chet, you got Chet, you got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you got Lou Dort. I love Lou Dort.
The Dortcher Chamber. Beyond all that, Larry, they have such a ridiculous amount of draft assets.
Oh, I know.
And they are so under the cap. Like, there's not a single move that they wouldn't be allowed to make this offseason.
I know. I mean, they're in a great spot. I mean, especially it was smart because who the hell's going to sign in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma? I mean, have you been to Oklahoma City?
I've not.
Yeah, well, you're all
Yeah,
right.
I mean that's the thing, and I have no plans to go.
Is there a bucket? Is it on the bucket list?
It's not on the bucket list, but I'm sure it's fine. I bet you can get a great.
No, it's not fine. It sucks.
Steak.
It stinks. The NBA never should have gone there. They should have left the team in Seattle. But my point is, they're never going to be able to attract free agents. But if with Sam Presti, owning every second round pick until 2090 or something, I mean, he's the best GM going. I mean, I kind of wished when Bob Myers left, if Joe Lightyears was really going to do a great job, that he would go hire Presti. I guess I can't get mad because he got, Dunleavy got Trace Jackson Davis and Pajemski. But I mean, I'm looking at my Warriors going, how the hell are they going to get off the canvas and do anything? I read a Marcus Thompson Athletic article on like their offseason options. And after reading the article, I'm like, they're fucked. I mean, it's like it should have been called "They're Fucked" and tune in later. It's like their options are like maybe like the best options that Golden State's got this offseason. Forget LeBron and KD and all those pipe dreams. And LeBron's going back to LA, and KD's probably not coming. And even if he is, it's 5 years too late anyway. But they're talking about Zach LaVine. They're talking about who's Brandon Ingram. Those are the best options.
I'd take Brandon Ingram in a heartbeat.
I would too. I'd take LaVine too. But I'm just saying those are their best and only options. Paul George is 34. They got they're trying to keep the Steph window open. It's already closed. I mean, if Joe Lacob can find his way back to the finals, forget winning it. If they can find their way back to the finals, then he can sit there and say, I'm light years ahead of the rest of the NBA because they have no assets. They have no first round pick. They've got nobody on their roster that anybody wants that they're willing to trade. And all, they need to keep Kuminga. They need to keep Pods. They need to keep Pajemski. Those are the only guys anybody's going to ask for in any trade. They got one guy on their entire team that's in his prime. It's Wiggins, who is basically untradeable because of his contract. I mean, they've got an expiring on Chris Paul that they potentially could move, but they won't because it's going to cost them endless money. The NBA has redone the CBA so that if you're in that next that second above that second apron, that it gets super punitive, that you can't even make tax. It really can't make any trades. You can't, you can't get your mid-level exception. You can't group contracts together. I mean, they have made it so punitive to be in that second group above the apron, the second apron or whatever it is. And it's like, I was looking at the list of teams in the league. There's like 4 of them, and the Warriors are one of them that are in that category. So they're fucked on the cap. They have no picks. Their team's old. They have no assets. And, you wonder why Bob Myers took off. Yeah, he was tired of Joe Lacob, and who wouldn't be? But he probably took off because he realized there's no way to do this.
Right. The only thing you're going to do is be left holding the bag. So maybe it's time to just go.
They're screwed. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean,
the single best thing that they could do, and I know you and I, I put out a video. Steph? You and I did no. So the single best thing that they could do would be LeBron opting out and them paying LeBron to come.
I know he's old. But then there's people talking about sign-in trades.
But look,
he wants more money, so that's why he wants the sign-in trade.
Right. So it's probably not going to happen.
And also, LeBron.
I know we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. We're not doing this again.
I mean, how old is 10 wins. LeBron?
LeBron would add 10 wins to the Golden State Warriors just by showing up, just by having the year that he had last year. He would add 10 wins.
If LeBron didn't lose anything, and you just added him for nothing to the Warriors right now, they're not as good as Minnesota.
Well, no, here's the thing. I can't make you the best team in the NBA. Like, that lever is no longer available anywhere to pull. How do you just get better as you are with the assets that you have in the situation that you're in?
But here's the question. In the NBA, it's funny, people bring this up in football and baseball like it's applicable, and it's really not. It's hilarious. People are so NBA centric in some ways. The NBA has middle ground. You don't want to be in the middle ground. No. You can't ever escape the middle ground where you're not good enough to get Anthony Edwards, but you're not good enough to win a title. So you're just forever sitting there.
Yeah,
you're sitting in this 42 win bubble.
It's all
where you just can't
44 win bubble.
Yeah, and you can't get out of it. And it's like, in some ways, you're right. Like trading LeBron, signing LeBron would add 10 wins. But like, is that in their best interest to rebuild, to add 10 more wins and not win a title? So they're in a, I mean, to me, and I think Dunleavy's probably a pretty sharp guy. And I know Lakeup badly wants a win, and I know Steph is really connected in the league and a guy that, Giannis and a couple other guys would love to play for. The only chance Golden State has any chance of becoming relevant in the title conversation with Steph Curry is if somehow Steph Curry behind the scenes cuts some kind of arrangement with Giannis, and Giannis says to Milwaukee, trade me to the Warriors. And that's the only way. And forces some kind of leveraged, partnership with Steph. That is the only way that the Warriors are going to get off where they're at with Steph and get in that title contention. You can't say there's no chance, because it's a league driven by stars, and guys seemingly do, find these super team arrangements and make their own deals and this and that. But that's it. I mean, I read Marcus Thompson's piece. I went through all those options. I'm looking at all those potential, different moves they could make. Literally, if Giannis or Embiid said, I want to play only with Steph Curry, that would be the only way for Golden State to become even any way a part of this title contention conversation.
So I was talking to Tom, I was talking to Tate, I was talking to Bob Agnew, and I said, it might be time to go get the big Greek guy. I like souvlaki. I do like an awful lot of Greek food. I like a good, a lot of people call them gyros. It's the wrong way to say it. You say hero. That's the proper pronunciation. And I'm a very traveled, worldly man, so I understand these things. I think there's an awful lot of reasons to bring in the big Greek. I think that they could do it, although it's going to be very hard to do. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, Rob. No, I'll tell you, it's a great day. It's a great day today because I like to sit on the ice. I like to sit right there on the glass, and someday I'll be looking. I invited Rick Celebrini. We're gonna go to Amici's. We're gonna have some lemon pepper wings, and then we're gonna sit there. We're gonna watch his kid, and I'm gonna be right there with me on the glass with Tate. And I'm going to see if I can get Owen Nolan to sign my backpack. And I'm so excited for the Sharks and Celebrini.
Lowry, I was looking at the Celebrini kid, and the only thing I don't like about the Hobie Baker Award winner, 2 ACLs. I'm looking for players with one ligament only in their knee. I see a man with 2 healthy young knees, and I think I can't work with that.
I was talking to Celebrini on the phone the other day, Lowry, and Damon was very tough on me. Damon was very tough on me in those 95-7 days. Very tough. But I was talking to Celebrini, and I said to him, I'm a football guy, and you're more of a hockey guy. And yet we're both tough guys.
Oh, you know what, Larry? We forgot to read our starred super chats real quick to the super chats, and then we got to go because I got to take a leak and I got a show at 11. Okay. Ricky Williams coming in here says one in-season trade we can realistically make to give us some juice. O or D. As currently constructed, I'm not convinced we're going back to the dance. Look at it this way: if the Niners
is he asking for what trades could be made? Right. Is that what he's saying?
If the Niners need an in-season trade to remain playoff relevant, the whole thing is dead on arrival to begin with. So I don't think
It's an interesting question, though, as far as like if they need, based on what they look like, I would say it's pass rusher. It's always going to be up front, somebody on the defensive line, because they're pretty loaded at corner.
Yeah.
So it would either be a corner, receiver, maybe an offensive lineman, but I would say it's a pass rusher. I would say they'll be in the mix for whatever pass rushers out there in October.
Ricky again comes in saying, don't see the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl. If everybody's healthy, the AFC is loaded. Personally, the AFC championship matchup between the Texans and the Jets, Salah and D'Amico. Who do you guys got in that game? Again, we're not predicting who's going to be in the AFC title game. We haven't seen a snap of football.
I'm definitely not going to predict Jets.
Right. And it's
let's get real on the Jets. I mean, it's like, right. No.
And look, fading the Chiefs, you got a lot of historical reasons to do that. No team has ever gone, and won 3 Super Bowls in a row. The
Niners
Chiefs
almost did.
Up against it historically, but we'll see if they can't be the first team to break through. And should they do that, then Patrick Mahomes gets to enter this might be the all-time guy.
Okay, I give you $100 and we're in Vegas, and we walk into a sports book today and you got $100 and you have to bet it on the Super Bowl.
How about this, Larry? This would be the last time I would put all that money on the Niners.
Well, but I'm saying, would you put it all on one team, or would you take some of it and put it on? Like, I think I would throw, if I was in the casino right now, I would throw, let's say 20, maybe 25 of it on the Niners. I'd probably throw 50 on the Texans just as a wild play, and maybe 25 on the Lions. 25 in the Niners, 25 in the Lions, maybe 50 spot on the Texans trying to win big.
I like the way you spread it around. I think you've
like, I want to have some. I might, if I was a little unbiased. If I was unbiased, I'd probably put it down on the Lions.
It's good. I'm going to go full hundo on the Niners. Get it done just once. Get it done here, Kyle. Get it done. Okay. What else we got?
Let's see.
One more. I think we got one more. We've had 2 from Ricky. Thank you, Ricky. Blood Moon says, Mitchell, get rid of him. Guy has had his shots. Give Mason the opportunity to be second behind these new kids. 3-spot Gray shaking my damn head bust. What a huge disappointment. An awful lot in there, Blood Moon. I don't know what Elijah Mitchell has done to be in the get rid of him neighborhood. It feels like a very unfair place for him to be leaving. I think he needs more opportunity, not less. Mason, another guy, more opportunity, not less. But I think he's definitely going to be the odd man out with them drafting a couple of running backs or signing one as an undrafted free agent who could really help as well. And then
that's going to be an interesting
cut. I don't want to hear about Danny Gray until he's catching footballs in the regular season. Danny Gray is a rumor until otherwise.
Yeah, I think the Niners' best offensive backfield this year, assuming they're going to have 5. McCaffrey, Mitchell, Mason, Schrader, number 5 spot, Guerendo over Juice. You'd save money on the cap. I know Juice already redid his deal, so he's probably going to be there. But I think Guerendo looks like, to me, like a dynamic fullback replacement. To me, what really excites me is the idea of Guerendo playing fullback at running 4-3. And I think Guerendo might be the best way to replace Juice, where you're.
You know what I think happens? I think that Juszczyk is kept around and he's almost in that tight end room as much as he's in the running backs room.
Well, they've never used him at tight end.
I think this will be the year where they're just out of options, unless Klein really explodes.
Or maybe Camlo 2. Maybe Camlo 2 gets off the carpet. All right, that's going to do it.
Not bad for a show without much stuff to talk about, Larry. Always a pleasure, my man. Thank you so much. And we'll tell everyone that we're going to be right back at it on Friday. Please like, subscribe, and notify to both of our channels.
What do you got cooking at 11?
At 11, I'm getting back into the schedule and how it's going to just be a savage schedule for the 49ers to negotiate. Even if everything goes perfectly, it's impossible to see like more than a dozen wins. I mean, you selling me 12 Niner wins right now, I will buy that every day of the week. I mean, the 12 wins is a big number for this schedule. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about these young NBA players who are absolutely revealing themselves to us in real time. And that's why I love sports. And that's what we got. It's going to kind of be a shorter show at 11 because I got a little lunch date that I'm going on. A little pal of mine getting together for a little lunch today, Larry. And
where are you guys headed?
To be determined. It's a TBD. We're going to find
in the city. I would suggest Gordo, maybe a little burrito on.
Oh,
Geary
dude,
Street.
you can do better than Gordo anywhere. Come on.
But I mean, it's I haven't had Gordo in a while. I kind of miss Gordo.
There you go. If you develop a flavor memory, it's hard to break yourself of that. But yeah, if we're gonna go get a burrito, we'll do that somewhere in the Mission. We won't go to Gordo. It's where white girls get their burritos.
Gordo's very authentic. Do not believe that. I'll say this. I've already gone live with Guy today and you. So I've done 2 live streams. I haven't even had breakfast. Why did
you start with Guy today?
Guy had to go early. So he said, hey, I wanted to have him on. So he's like, hey, it's 7:30 or nothing. I said, well, let's do 7:30. So I was up early, done 2 live streams. Today's a big gym day. I think I'm going to go lift. I also got a new bike. I think I'm going to hit the trail. I think it's a big exercise day. Later tonight, I think Kev, we haven't done our Wednesday night call-in show for a few weeks because he's getting his butt kicked by the semester and his class schedule this year. But we might go live tonight with a little Wednesday night call-in show. So
hey, give Kev my best. Thank him as always for setting up the studio that this show comes from, doing the thumbnail. Always appreciate that. And go have yourself a Larry day. A Larry day. Go be Mick Krueger out on that bike path.
That's right. And Jacob Cowling, remember, is Separation McSeparation.
And, I'm going to get out there. I'm not really a football guy, but today I'm going to train like a football guy on the bike, maybe throw some weights around. Hey, maybe even try to throw up a couple plates.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon'